Georgia,
Hi.
welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for accepting the invite. I know it wasn't really planned, but it was nice because I've been following you for quite some time on LinkedIn. I know that you're working on your personal brand, which is just fantastic. Good on you.
Thank you.
I'm trying to somehow look up to you and emulate. Trying to see a few of your strategies. So hopefully we're going to just speak about that a little bit also today. But before that, you are a founder.
I am.
A solopreneur. And you run a company called Access HR.
I do. It's my baby.
Do you want to tell us a little bit more about what Access HR does?
Yeah, definitely. So Access HR was basically built out of a passion project, which I don't think a lot of people say about HR, but that was where I was 2 years ago. So Access HR is an independent HR consultancy, and we're supporting growing businesses to keep and attract really great talent as they're on their scale-up journey. So the business was built because we are really critical in HR and we're not as creative. So it was built to bring more of an impact to the future of work. And for me, the last 2 years has been amazing, but I've fully been on my own for the last 12 months, which has been quite a big journey by itself. And I'm sure we'll unpack that a little bit more as we keep the conversation going.
Before we get into that also, why Access HR? What's the meaning behind the name? I know I get that asked a lot. So yeah, what's the meaning behind the name?
For me, HR should be an essential part of a business. It's not something that is expendable. It's something that we should all have access to create great places to work. So that was where the name really came from, because we spend so much of our lives at work. Why are we not creating thriving environments and empowering our people? And it should be easy and accessible. So that's really where the name and the thought came from.
I love that.
Thanks.
I love that. We all should have access to our HR.
We should.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Okay, so take me back, Georgia. Being a solopreneur, being an entrepreneur is difficult.
Yes, definitely.
I was a solopreneur, I think, for the first couple of months of starting Plum. It was horrible. It was extremely difficult. It was lonely. Obviously, things are quite different for us now, especially for me in a personal capacity as well. But a lot of people are trying to go onto this solopreneurship route. So yeah, I mean, just your experiences. I mean, if you can just walk me through that. And also, maybe before we get into that, why did you take this leap of faith?
I took the leap out of frustration. So I think the perception of HR is really outdated. The way that people are doing it is incredibly black and white. It's really transactional. It's not transformational. And I was frustrated because there are really amazing modern businesses out there who have modern pain points. So they need to be more agile. They need to foster communication and collaboration. And I saw that gap. And I saw employees screaming out for more. They want more impactful work. They want a strategic partner by their side. So that's initially what made me take the leap and start as a side hustle. As I say, it was a passion project. And I found my journey incredibly lonely. And I also thought at the start I needed to do it by myself because that would show I was, I could do this, it's strength. But I've actually realized it's not. So what I've really worked on is building a community and having the right people by my side. I also always say it to my clients in HR, you need the right partner by your side. And that also goes for when you're on your own. I can't do everything. So I've learned to not try as well. Like I did really try at the start, didn't work. So now I've built a really good community around me, which has been amazing. And I'm sure you've done the same as well as you've grown. What did you find? Did you find that you needed that community?
Oh no, absolutely. Like I said, I mean, I think the journey is extremely lonely. Mm-hmm. And I think even when you create that community, perhaps only you feel it's very difficult to find people who really understand what you're going through. Hence why it's really lonely, but definitely the community helps. So for me, my first community honestly was my family. Like it started off with my sisters. My mum was a huge support as well to me. My friends didn't quite understand why the hell was I doing what I was doing, because I was in a line of business. So I was in the property sector for a very long time, about more than 12 years. And I was doing fine until I wasn't. Lost all my money. But then I came out of that space. And then I just wanted to do something completely different, which was from a risk appetite perspective. At that time, I shouldn't have had that much risk appetite. And obviously my friends, perhaps in hindsight, maybe just wanted the best for me. So they didn't quite understand what I was doing and why I was doing it. So sadly for me, my friends know, but then community from a perspective of other people who are trying to build something by themselves. So a founder community is what I got, which was amazing. And then I started getting into all these accelerators and incubators. And off the back of that, again, it was nice to connect with like-minded people. For me, that was this strong pillar. And then I think the biggest takeaway was, oh my God, like everyone's going through that pain. It's not just me. Oh my God, everybody's failing on the daily. It's not just me. So I think that was really impactful for me. I don't know about you.
I completely agree. And I think the minute that I chose courage over comfort, it was a completely game changer for me, because I am the only one in my friendship group who runs and owns their own business. So my friends can't necessarily relate to the challenges that I'm facing. And I did choose courage. I knew exactly where I was going and I was going to make it. However that looked, I was going to figure it out, and I'm still figuring it out. And, I think we see on social media now as well that entrepreneurial is glamorized and, a lot of people think you can do this overnight and you can make X amount a month as soon as you leave the corporate world. That's not the reality, and I would love to speak to someone who can do that, but that's not the reality that I faced. It took me 2 years to build my business, and I wouldn't change a single thing about that, because I've grown so much. So for me, challenge and growth are so important. They really drive me, and I'm learning every day.
Good.
Yeah.
I remember someone asking me many years ago, did you know, because it's not just difficult. I think it's just, like I said, sometimes it's just borderline horrible.
Yes.
The situation. So it is what it is, right? Yeah. So, and like you rightly said, social media does romanticize the whole startup journey and being a founder and entrepreneur, and which is great. Yeah, by all means, everyone should come in to the space, but it's also not for everyone. And,
I completely agree. That's one of the biggest things when people ask me, they're like, how do you find it? Do you have complete freedom? Are you on a beach in Thailand working? No, I'm not. Yes, okay, I have flexibility, but I also work the hardest I've ever worked in my life. And it isn't for everybody.
Yeah, so I remember people asking me, if I knew how difficult the journey would be. And I told them no. If I knew how difficult this journey would be, I would have probably never started. But I'm also so grateful that I didn't know, because I wouldn't change a thing. I don't know if you feel the same way.
No, I completely agree. And equally, if it was easy, everybody would absolutely do it. And that's why a lot of people start a business and they fail within the first 2 years. It isn't for everybody. And I also think we need to start and be okay with that concept. A lot of people now, want to work for themselves. And fair enough, that's exactly what I did. But I have the resilience and the mentality and the tenacity and the desire for growth that allows me to do that. And not everyone does.
Talk me through a little bit about that. Resilience, tenacity, mindset. So you have that. Did you always have that? Did you work towards that?
I've gone through particular periods where I've had it and then where I haven't. So growing up, I've been a massive people pleaser. I call myself a recovering people pleaser, and I especially think in HR.
Love that. Recovering people pleaser. Okay.
It's the journey that I'm going on. So I used to care massively about, making other people really happy. And I think in HR we do that a lot as well with the experiences that we create for our employees. And I'm shifting now more towards being recovering, because I can't make everybody happy all the time. And one thing I've learned in my resilience is particularly from my parents as role models. So they have had their own business. I have seen what they have gone through. So I feel like it's in my DNA. And also, as an industry, HR comes with a lot of baggage. We, which can be quite overbearing, and the perception of HR isn't the best because of people's experience. So I've faced a lot of resilience and, hesitation that way as well. So I've had to overcome that. And now I'm in a place where my mindset is so much more positive because I face challenges every day as a business owner. I'm a young female business owner in HR. When I walk into a room, I'm typically the youngest person. Or if I tell somebody I work in HR, it's, well, who do you work for? It's never the question that I work for myself.
Right.
So I face it on a daily, and I've learned now to see it as an opportunity.
Entrepreneurship, anyway, we all know is hard, and we've spoken about this now. I think you've got it slightly harder because being a young entrepreneur and a female entrepreneur, there is a huge disparity. I mean, whether we like it or not, data speaks it for itself that, there's a big disparity between male entrepreneurs and female entrepreneurs already. It's interesting because I'm actually going to be speaking on a panel sometime next week around.
Amazing.
Yeah, because it is an obvious problem.
Yeah.
So, talk me through that a little bit. Do you see it in a day-to-day? Do you see discrimination of any sort? Do you see the challenges multiplied because of your age and because of your gender?
So in HR, it's predominantly female space anyway, so I don't face it from that perspective. But in HR, I face it because of my age. I went to a networking event a couple of weeks ago, full HR community, and the response I got was, "Oh, you look about 21. What do you know?" So I'm facing this now, even on my own. So it is more on the age perspective rather than gender. But when I walk into a room with non-HR, that's where I get the question of, well, who do you work for? And there's not that opinion that as a young female business owner, I can have my own consultancy. So for me, I've learned, rather than letting that impact me because I can't control external opinions and thoughts, I take that as an opportunity myself. So I really, I like to be the underdog. I don't know if that's a good thing to say, but then there's no pressure, there's no expectation, and I just come out on top. And that's where I'm coming from with my business.
It's interesting when you look at the correlation between, successful or relatively successful entrepreneurs. A few of the things is, to be able to continue going, but mindset, hard work, consistency. Yeah. So you're talking about the underdog, and I keep saying this about myself as well. So I walked into the UK about 4 years ago, and I walked in, didn't have money, didn't know anyone, didn't have the educational background or the support system and whatnot. I just told myself, listen, I'm the underdog. The one thing I'm going to have more than anybody else is that nobody's going to be able to work as hard as me.
Yep.
So I think it's that mindset, and underdogs really have, something to prove.
Yep.
And, it's not how many times you fall, but how quick you get up. So I think mindset is extremely important. And you spoke about resilience, obviously, that also applies to mindset. So having said that, it's also, what would you tell, because a lot of people want to get into this space. I know a lot of women also want to, start something about themselves. What would you tell people? How does one, start this kind of journey?
Yeah. The biggest thing right now, as HR is being done, as is today, it's not reflective of the future of work. And I think it is really outdated. That's where I have evolved in that. So for anybody wanting to go into the space, educate yourself on what actually HR does in a business, because a lot of the time there is the misconception, and it's quite an outdated misconception. Things like, we're not just the paper pushers and the administrative side of a business. We are strategic, we are enablers, we are essential. And with the future of work, for anybody wanting to get into the industry, you need to pay attention to what's going on outside of HR channels. A lot of people are going into the space because they say they really like people. That's not enough. That's really not enough. A lot of us are good with people, but you've got to take it one level beyond that. I get quite a lot of messages of people saying I'm in completely different industry and I want to transition in. And I love that because we're getting transferable skills outside of the educational, institutional system that a lot of us go through in HR. So that's a blessing. But I think the biggest thing is look beyond what you're seeing and really educate yourself, because the world of work is evolving so fast.
Yeah. And why do you think that's the case? I have my 2 cents on this as well, but I'd like to hear your thoughts. Yeah, I mean, why is HR always somehow not given a proper seat in the boardroom? I know maybe some people, this is probably not politically correct, but maybe some people in HR would disagree. Mm-hmm. But I know from a very high level, broad perspective, HR, again, like you rightly said, admin, day-to-day, just get the work done. No strategy. Strategy comes from the top. And what is more important is revenue. So salespeople are looked after and marketing and whatever. Yeah. But so why do you think is the case?
I think because how HR is being done in businesses sometimes has come from somebody who, again, is just great with people, and then the HR side has just landed on their desk, unfortunately, and they've not got the skills or ability to actually do it. I also think there's a huge education gap where people don't know exactly what HR do. They really don't. And even our leaders, who we lean on quite a lot in business, rather than being our advocates, they're heavily our adversaries. They are very reactive and very reciprocal and say, oh, just go talk to HR, when really they don't know what we actually do. And I also think there's a lot of people who are the wrong players. So I have a lot of how I see HR is from like my sporting background and growing up. So like coaching players, that's a lot of terminology that I use. There are a lot of wrong players in HR. And what I mean by that is people who are not the correct people. They are forgetting the humanity side of employee experience. They are really transactional, very punitive as well. And the perception is that we are just, there for the disciplinaries. We are the admin pushers. We wake up every day wanting to fire people. And that's why I don't think we're getting the seat at the table. COVID has definitely accelerated a more progressive opinion of HR, where we have CHROs and people directors now who are thankfully getting a voice. Are we all the way there? No, we're absolutely not. We've got a really long way to go. And that comes down to the education, unfortunately. And when we don't have the right players, it's an uphill battle for us, definitely.
Yeah. I feel COVID definitely has done a lot from a people perspective.
Yeah.
But when you talk about HR, when you talk about well-being, mental health and so on, I just feel, I don't know if you feel the same, but I just feel like today there's more lip service than actual action. It was really heated, and there was a lot of execution and action at the time of COVID when we're in lockdown and when we just came out of lockdown. But somehow that energy and that drive has just sizzled down. People are still talking about it. Everybody talks about the importance, and you spoke about, big roles within the HR space and a lot of initiatives as well. But there's just more talk and less action.
I think as well with COVID, we all, of course, were not expecting the pandemic. Next thing we know, furlough comes in and everyone goes, oh my gosh, HR, thank you so much. We had our moment. That was our time to shine. People who probably have never heard of the HR department all of a sudden loved them. And now businesses are still leaning on HR as really reactive. So like, this person's now working hybrid, but they're not working to the standard. How can I do something about this, rather than being proactive, which we can be if the business allows us to be. And the point of HR is to support, it's to help the business to win in the marketplace. That's essentially what we do. And what I'm noticing is sometimes the founders don't really understand what HR do and how they can complement a business as well. So it's hard. It's hard, and it's a continuous battle. We're fighting every single day. There's a really obvious undercurrent that, we have so much impact on people, but equally with the most hated department, I will say. It's simultaneous. And it's a hell of a ride, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah, well, I hope you're enjoying the ride, though.
I do. I've got that front seat. So but I think are you noticing that?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, I'm noticing it, and I'm also really frustrated. So obviously we're in the mental health space.
Yes.
So, and that's why I touched on that as well. I also strongly believe there's a lot of lip service in the mental health space.
Yep.
Mental health has just become such a big buzzword. Everybody just talks about it. Doesn't matter if you're in the mental health space or not. Everybody just talks about it and how important it is for employee well-being or just general human beings. I think for me, I know fundamentally we are here as a company. What is a company? A company is a collective of people.
It is,
right?
Yeah.
So we're here as a company only because of our people. If I did not have my first hire, which is today my co-founder, and my second hire, so first hire, co-founder, COO, second hire, co-founder, CTO, I wouldn't have been here. This company wouldn't have existed. Simply because of the people.
Yep.
Without taking any names, the last funding round we were doing, we had some consultants and we're making the slide deck. And one of the slide deck was the leadership team. And there were just too many people on the leadership team. And I was asked to remove the HR, the head of HR from that slide so basically I had two options, either split it into two different slides or just have one slide, but then I had to remove some people. Design wise, it didn't look good. So I was asked to remove the HR because it was not relevant on the slide when I'm trying to raise funds. And I was like, how? Because this person or this department is a custodian of all the human beings who have made the company or brought the company to where it is that is now able to raise funds. So how is this person not important? Obviously, I did not have this type of conversation with them.
Yeah.
I was just like, so it's quite sad that, the general consensus is this.
I get it. Literally, I have messages where, as a department and as a function, we're labelled as snakes. We're labelled as the police. We're labelled as the tattletale. And historically, so we've kind of elevated from being known as personnel to HR, and we're now progressing into people and culture. So the perception of personnel was we're there for the people, which is right to an extent, because if you don't invest in your people, you're not investing in your business. So the strategies and all these amazing solutions that we bring in are people focused so that your business can benefit from that evolution. So a lot of the time, the perception is lip service. We are just there, if a situation arises, go to HR, they'll fluff it a little bit and we'll keep it hush hush. That's not the case. And we are evolving so much, and it comes down to the perception. I don't think social media helps at the minute. Like, there are layoffs that are happening, particularly in the States, where people are recording them, and we're just not doing ourselves any favors. For us to be seen as that strategic partner who is more high level, we are an asset when we're going through investment round, things like that, more work needs to be done. Is the shift towards being called people and culture the right one? I'm not 100% sure, but equally that's a move that the industry is moving towards.
It's interesting you say that. Why though? Why don't you think it's the right move? Again, is it because of terminologies? We're not actually doing anything about it, or?
I think it's predominantly the language that's being used. So people, of course, in a work environment, we're talking about all of our people, but equally people can be like clients and everything like that. So I don't think that's the right word. For culture, why is HR just the sole person responsible for culture? Every single person in a business is responsible for the culture that we have. Culture is also about the behaviors that we embody and we allow and we challenge. Why is HR just responsible for that? Predominantly, it should be our leaders who are responsible. And that's where I'm interested to see where we move towards. Why is HR being responsible for just the culture when it should be a collective responsibility? So that's the title for me. It's a little bit of a bugbear. So yeah.
No, that makes sense. And I completely agree with you. Culture really, nothing's going to change if the leadership, it needs to start from leadership.
Completely agree.
And then everyone should be a part of that culture. I mean, I think that's setting wrong expectations from the HR department as well. I mean, they're not magicians at the end of the day. I mean, nothing's going to happen if there's no collective support and collective buy-in.
I completely agree. And you're so right. It starts with leadership, because you can be in a business and you can have two completely different leaders in two completely different teams. There can be two completely different cultures, and you're in the same business. And if we're not on side as a collective and a senior team with the behaviors we tolerate, the ones we challenge, and the ones, we're totally happy with, then we've got an issue. And that can't just lean on just HR, That's where the title for me, let's see how it goes.
It's interesting. I've actually never heard that, but that's really interesting. I mean, food for thought for me as well, because we also, we've got titles as people department, culture department, people and culture, and so on. So that's quite interesting. Coming back to the shift, and we spoke about your age and how young you are, and how fast the landscape is changing. I mean, we're no longer in the technological revolution. We're in the AI revolution now. And oh my God, things are just moving exponentially. And I was thinking about it, a couple of days ago. I'm like, wow, we've been talking about Gen Z. But I'm a millennial. So we've been talking about Gen Zs, but I'm thinking, oh my God, very soon we're going to have Gen Alpha in the mix as well.
Not long.
So isn't it actually, again, strategically, doesn't it actually make sense to get someone who's younger within the business to consult you, because things are changing and things are changing quite fast.
Incredibly fast. So as much as I thought, with my age, is that going to go against me? My age is actually one of my biggest assets when I go into a business, because I am the modern workforce. I'm a millennial too. By 6 months, I don't know if I want to be a Gen Z. I think I do. I'm more Gen Z in my mindset anyway, but I am a millennial. So when I go into the workforce now, I am the modern workforce, but I also really educate myself on Generation Alpha. So if anyone doesn't know who Generation Alpha are, they are born between 2013 to 2024. So they will be here within the next 2 years. They're currently at school. They will be 16, but, they could be. And with the way that technology is evolving, they are a tech-first generation, AI, VR, all of that is second nature to them. Whereas currently we've got Gen Z who have always had technology, but on a different scale. And we have to prepare for that. So I talk a lot about the preparation that we can do now around our culture, being more technologically advanced. And I think a lot of people are scared at the same time, especially with AI. People are thinking, oh gosh, is that going to take my job? As of right now, if you're not using AI, the people who are using AI, they'll take your job. So we always need to be evolving and educating ourselves. I can't speak for the future, of course, but that's where we are now. So Generation Alpha, they are similar but more progressive to Gen Z, I would say. And we have to prepare for that in our work environments, because they will be here so soon.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And how does one actually prepare for that? I mean, because there's just so many changes. People are just trying to learn how to use AI tools, let alone how to manage different generations. I mean, these are human beings. I mean, it's difficult for us to manage, computing languages, let alone human beings. So how does one actually prepare for that?
It all comes down to the employee experience as well. So with the experience that we're creating for our employees, we have different generations which have different personas, different needs, and different areas that they need to thrive in the workplace. And I think it's really important to be equitable. So it's not about, creating the same. It's all about creating different so that people can thrive in different ways. So when we're adapting for the next generation, the preparation that we can do is being aware of what's going on in the world around us. So technology is obviously a really big topic, but diversity and inclusion, sustainability, well-being, these are all things that we're touching on the surface now in the workplace. They're only going to evolve. And we need to tap into and lean into those areas, because if we don't, Generation Alpha are going to come in and say, well, I expect this. We don't have a choice. And equally, the employers who are more progressive, they're aware of that, and they are consciously making those changes, they're the ones who are going to win.
Yeah. Fundamentally, do you think the mindset of organizations also need to change. For instance, how do you actually retain people? So this is just one example.
Yep.
So retention of people. So obviously, as we know in the HR space, retention is a big thing because it costs a lot of money to get new people in, an interview process, whatever, and then they leave. But I think just using this example, is there like a mindset shift required also from organizations where, like back in the days, if you look at, the generation even before millennials, people just stayed in the job for a longer period of time. Now things have changed. People just don't leave. I don't know if there's anything a company can do for a Gen Z to remain in an organization for 10 years. I don't know if that can even happen, or is that the right thing to do?
I think as employers, we need to open our eyes a little bit. I think we need to be more realistic as well. So the average duration of employment now for an employee is 18 months. So we just need to be a bit more real with what's going on, and also know that we're no longer in, a lifetime career. Yeah. People don't want that. But what people do want is career opportunities. If you give them more opportunities in your business to progress in a really clear career pathway, they will follow that and they will stay for you longer, because what's important to Gen Z is impact. So they want to know the impact of their work on the wider business, and equally global impact as well, so sustainability. So that's really important to them. I speak to Gen Z quite a lot because I really want to get a deep understanding of what's meaningful and important to them. And surprisingly, a lot of them have said a salary increase isn't going to keep them at a particular workplace. Their response is more, I want to feel heard. So employee voice is really important. So like your engagement surveys, and they want to know the impact that their work is having on the business and have more of a community in the workplace. That's what's important to them. So employers, when you're talking about the mindset, do they need to change their mindset? It's just being open to new ways of working, because if not, there are employers who are, and you will lose your really good talent, because people now, when they're looking for jobs, culture is really important to them as well. It's one of the top things that they look for. So while salary is great, it's not everything.
It's interesting how the world has changed, because back in the days, obviously salary perhaps was one of the biggest reasons why you stayed in a job, because fundamentally a job was just that, a job. And then as soon as I clock out, that is when my life starts. And then I'm really living weekend to weekend, holidays to holidays.
Yeah.
But I think now, people want to find that purpose, because people are also that much more aware. Like you said, we spend most of our lives in a job. And if you don't have meaning and purpose in that job, you're really living weekend to weekend, holidays. And people these days do not want to live like that.
No, and feeling fulfilled at work is so important now for Gen Z, and even more so for Gen Alpha when they come in. Going to work 9 to 5 to get paid, of course, that is okay, and that's for certain people. But people want to feel fulfilled. And when I see articles about Gen Z and a really lazy generation, I find that quite hard to read, because they're actually not. They really want to feel fulfilled, and they want work that is purposeful and impactful. And that's where businesses being strong on their vision, their mission, and their values, that's so important. And if people haven't refreshed those, then you definitely need to before Gen Alpha come in.
What does a company do if they're not able to provide, or if they don't really have a purposeful driven business? For example, let's say you are a plastic spoon manufacturer.
Yep.
What do you do?
You can create a culture on the inside. So things like employee voice. So a Gen Z that I've spoken to, they want their voices to be heard. So even if you're not a, sustainability company or anything like that, you can create a voice within the business. So you can ask regular conversations. Don't wait for the annual performance appraisal, whatever system you've got, scrap that for one. But, let's have ongoing, regular conversations. We need to educate our leaders so that people feel valued at work and fulfilled. Employers can't have everything. A lot of small businesses don't have the budget. as well. But it doesn't hurt to have a conversation that's regular with your team. Costs nothing.
Yeah. I mean, we're obviously in the therapeutic space, and everything is about, I mean, I joke quite a lot with my internal team. So we've got an internal clinical team as well. And, you know, I joke with them sometimes that, you know, if all of us just communicated, we probably wouldn't need therapists. It's just, I mean, people don't talk, you know, so I think that's so important. I mean, when we're talking about communication, especially between the employee and the employer, you can't have, I mean, communication is not enough. Over-communicate.
I'm so glad you're talking about this.
Over-communicate.
Over-communicate. Most of the time, an HR issue is not an HR issue, it's a communication issue. And I get that all the time, so I'm so glad talking about it. Do you find that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we do it quite well, but I still don't think it's enough.
No.
I still don't think it's enough. Also because, you know, because people keep changing, and like you said, I mean, I didn't even know it's 18 months, which is, again, it's like, wow, like I'm actually learning a lot from you, Georgia. Thank you so much for that. But yeah, so I mean, people come in, come out. So you would think that, hey, I've spoken to the entire team, I've done a town hall, whatever, everybody knows it. Yeah, no, but they don't also. And things keep changing every single day.
I think it's a dance, though, because sometimes people can over-communicate and they feel, oh, gosh, I need to tell them every single thing that's going on. And the best communication is purposeful communication and regular communication rather than like a brain dump of communication that's quite overwhelming. We don't want to add any more onto anyone's shoulders. But it's so important, and so many don't communicate, which causes more issues, especially for retention. Definitely.
What do you think about talking about communication? I mean, you also spoke about, we all know we're sitting in a downturn in the economy. Yeah. People have not coined it as a recession, but I mean, I think we are in a recession anyway. But, you know, all these massive layoffs, you spoke about layoffs in the US, but there has been a lot of layoffs in the UK as well, across the globe. Talking about communication and then, you know, building that trust, because communication, clear, honest communication builds trust. Yeah. But then you also have to filter that communication, you know, from an HR perspective. So if a company is going through something like that, and then you're trying to control that communication is then maybe looked in a negative way. Hey, why don't you just inform me, because now I just distrust you? Yeah. So I mean, there's so many nuances like that. Like, how do you tackle that?
Sometimes you'll never win, and I think that's something to bear in mind. Equally, what I would love to see is a lot of businesses that are more clear on their transparency and their communication as well. It helps to build trust, for one. And if a particular business is going through like an organizational restructure or needs org-wide support, talk about it. Be honest with your team, but make sure the information that you're giving is accurate and purposeful information. And it can be a particularly challenging, frightening time, but make sure you're supporting your team through every single phase. Think about their well-being. Think beyond that. You should be working even harder for the team around you, because, as I say, if you don't invest in your people, you're not investing in your business. So particular situations that are the bad side of HR, never forget about your people. Never.
Yeah, more so during the bad times.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Like you said, doing things beyond your organization, I think that goes a really long way. Mm-hmm. Also, I think, just slightly off topic from the company related stuff, I think it's just karma. At the end of the day, you know, what you put in, you just get out. So I think it just goes a long way because of that as well.
Everything that we do goes back to employee experience. If you give them a bad experience, the ripple effect can be huge. Let's say a business is, needing to go through a restructure, or we are in a financial situation where we do have to go for redundancies. Who's to say that the business can't overcome that in a couple of years and you get somebody back into the business? You should always be thinking about the experience and the impression that you're leaving on that individual. Treat others how you want to be treated yourself, and never forget that.
Yeah. No, I I completely appreciate and resonate with that as well. I think if and again, HR does need leadership support.
Yes.
Because you can keep blowing your horn, but if you don't have that leadership support, it's never going to happen. From your own personal experience, I mean, do you think you are also so passionate because of your own personal experience? I know in like 2022 you also took a break.
Yes, I did.
If you can just add a little bit, why did you take that break, and what type of support did you get or wish you had?
Yeah, so for me the break was more of a like growth opportunity. So I felt that I could do more, and I needed just that extra time for myself and development that way. I've been really lucky in my career. I had the most amazing line manager to support me. She was there with me for everything, and not everybody has that. So I'm definitely feeling really good about my experience. But that period of time was actually really pivotal to where I am now, because I think sometimes you do need that reset. And a lot of us, especially in HR, it's go, 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 go. Like 98% of HR professionals are burnt out. Really high, right? Wow. I know. So it's one of those as well. No one, ever waters our plants. We're literally like a cactus. We're just there. So sometimes we have to water ourselves because people take from us. Like a lot of people will come to HR if they've got a question or an issue. And we are actually probably the last department that gets any investment in their PDPs. And sometimes you've got to reach outside of work. A lot of people rely on work for everything and their sense of joy. I don't. And I've got a really good balance with like exercise, family, and going outside of work. And that's what helps me.
Does exercise help you with your business?
Massively. I don't know about you, but if I don't exercise, my brain is foggy, like nothing makes sense. I get really overwhelmed really quickly. I need it. How about you? Do you?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I need it definitely. I think that endorphin hit really plays a big part.
Yeah.
I mean, I start my day, I hit the gym and then everything just after that. But also from a discipline perspective, delayed gratification, hard work, consistency, it just applies. Yeah. I mean, that entire mindset applies into the business world.
Definitely.
Do you think so?
I completely agree. And days when I don't exercise, I can feel it. Like I can really tell. For example, I've just been away. I've come back. I exercised yesterday morning and I was like, right, I need to get back into it because it can take you out a bit, but it really helps me focus.
Yeah.
Discipline, it's all of that. And it makes me really happy. And then I'm really excited to keep working and I love working. So full circle for me on that one.
I 100% agree with you. So starting your own business, obviously there's a lot of sacrifices.
Yes.
What sacrifices has Georgia made?
Time with loved ones has been sacrificed, especially because, as I said, this was a passion project. It was a side hustle. I was working full-time in corporate, getting my business off the ground. That meant I would miss events, miss opportunities, memory making, all of that. It's part and parcel of when you're starting a business. And I think it comes back to the whole like romanticized thing on social media. If you've got to put in what you hope to get out. So sacrifice to that, definitely. And I think another thing I would say is the internal in HR. So when you're in HR in-house, you see from start to finish. And that's one thing I feel like I've sacrificed a little bit, because when I come in and support clients now, it's on, particular project and we're in and out period of time. It's not like the 5-year career that I had in corporate and then obviously going on my own. I don't see every touch point. I don't see the smiles on the employees' faces and how it's impacted their lives. I love that side of corporate, but I feel I can do that on a different level now. So I kind of sacrificed it because I used to be in thick. I would know everything about everyone. Now I don't, but I can just create an impact in a different way.
It's also interesting, Georgia, because, like you said, you had a supportive manager.
Yes.
Perhaps a good leadership. I don't know if you were necessarily happy in what you were doing.
I was happy with my manager, really great support. Was I happy in what I was doing? No, I wasn't fulfilled in a Gen Z and Gen Alpha coming out. Okay. I wasn't fulfilled in what I was doing. It was transactional, traditional, the rule book, this is the way. And rather than being super critical, like we needed to just unlock that creativity. I've always been really creative in my approach to things. And that's where, for me, I was missing that piece. And that's exactly what I take now. And it's actually being celebrated. And because for HR to be different, we need to be different in HR. So that's where I'm going now. And that's actually being celebrated, which is everything I could want for me. It's the validation as well.
That's amazing. And how has your personal brand helped you with your business?
Massively. I wish I'd have known how important a personal brand was. I was a LinkedIn lurker for years, and I wish somebody...
Like so many of us.
Oh my gosh, I know. And just try. There's no harm in trying. Like, I wish I'd have started posting sooner and engaged sooner. I was, again, going back to the people pleaser, scared of what other people would say. Happy to be a recovering, because I have had the most amazing opportunities, like this podcast, incredible. I've also had the opportunity to inspire the next generation of HR, because one of the reasons I also left corporate and went on my own is because it was massively underrepresented. I'm now getting messages of people saying that they're really inspired by my journey. They want to do the style of HR that I'm doing, and it's given them the drive and ambition to keep moving forward. That for me is enough.
I love that.
Yeah, it's all down to branding.
Oh, 100%. And branding it in the way you're branding HR now, I think is on point.
Oh, amazing.
I think that's just amazing. I think that's a lot more people should do that.
Yeah.
And I think, you or perhaps some other people who are doing that within the space are the catalyst to hopefully many more to follow suit.
Yeah.
Because I think fundamentally that shift is needed. HR, I think, it's just too admin, or people just make fun of it on social media. That's it.
Yeah.
You're, in my opinion, from your personal brand, you're actually making HR cool. Which is, I think,
thanks. I don't think anyone's ever said that.
Honestly, and I think that's pretty cool that you're making it cool, because it should be cool.
Yeah.
So, but also, personal branding is intimidating for a lot of people, and like you said, you're a lurker. Majority of the people on this planet are, so it's intimidating. What advice would you give to people? I know everyone knows there's a lot of benefits.
Yeah.
But nobody's doing it. How do you start?
When I realized that people actually buy from people, and when you're just authentic and when you're yourself, that's when everything changed for me. So I actually did a post, and this was kind of the trigger. So the post was about, why am I writing as though the royal family are going to see this post? Because they're absolutely not. And I actually just spoke as myself. And I think when I say that I'm in HR, a lot of people think, corporate lingo and transactional. That's not me. It's not my personality. It doesn't fit. So I actually just leaned into who I am. And I wish somebody would have told me that earlier, because being you, nobody can be you.
No.
That is what makes you different. So in a world of, a sea of everybody else, commit to being yourself and authentically yourself. Because when you're both yourself online and in person, that's when people trust you. And that's what people need to do.
Yeah, I can give you my experience as well. Obviously, when you look at people on social media, you do build this one-sided relationship. And I can tell you now, you are the Georgia that is the same Georgia I see on LinkedIn.
Amazing.
Which is, yeah, I mean, and it has to connect.
It does.
Right? It has to connect.
It does.
If you were completely different, I would be taken aback.
Yeah.
I'd be like, who am I speaking to? I don't know you.
Yeah.
That was maybe your alter ego or whatever that was. That's not Georgia.
I'd say the same for you though. Like the language that you're using, it's what you would use every day. Like
Correct.
I've not come in here been like, oh gosh, who is this guy? I've not felt that once. And that's the power of a brand. And if you're authentic.
Absolutely. And it's also, if you're not yourself, it's also not scalable.
Yeah,
like it's
completely.
also very difficult to be someone else for such a long time. Like because I mean, personal brand is also a journey. It's a lot of hard work.
Yes.
It requires commitment. You know it.
I do.
Right? And how do you scale that if it's not you? It just becomes, I mean, you're just doing yourself a disservice in the long run.
Yeah. And I get questions where people are like, how do I build a brand? How do I write on LinkedIn? If you don't know, you need to figure it out. I had to figure it out as well. Try a few things. It's trial and error, but fail fast. So that's where I learned. I was myself. Did a few posts, didn't work out, switched them up, they worked. You've got to be yourself and be authentic and lean into that. But it's something I wish more people would do, especially in our industry. There is a lot of stigma. So talking about things, we're opening up conversations, which I think is one of the best things that you can do as a thought leader as well. You're creating conversations, you're sparking thoughts and interests that potentially people haven't thought about before. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think maybe one of the reasons also people perhaps working in organizations and thinking about HR is also very, like a critical or a criticized department. So can I post something?
Yeah.
Should I be posting something? I don't know. What if I say something right or wrong or not politically correct? And does it affect my job, my entire company, people working within the company?
Yeah.
It's just a lot of those elements as well, maybe.
It's a balancing act for sure. And I also think it comes down, you've just got to be happy with what you put online. Applies to when you are on LinkedIn or any other social platform, because once it's out there, it's out there. So if you're being vulnerable,
no pressure.
Yeah, literally. So just make sure that you're happy with it. We don't have to go full throttle. Start with a few posts, few teasers, open the conversation. And people also don't necessarily care about you as an individual, but they love when they see a post or a conversation that they can relate to. So make it really relatable. One of the biggest compliments I get is that I'm relatable. And that for me is great, because there are a lot of people out there who do fluff a lot of posts and everything like that. But in our industry, we're people.
Yeah.
We want to be supported. We want to be around like-minded people. So it works if you're willing to invest, because it's a big old job, but it's so worth it. And I'm sure you've had that as well.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, from people wanting to join the company to the last investment round that we're doing, I can't tell you how many VCs I spoke to off the back of that.
Oh, amazing.
And yeah, I think it's, again, speaking with you is also because of the personal brand.
Yeah.
I reached out to you on LinkedIn, which is fantastic. I think in this day and age, you're spoiled for choice when it comes to information. So the problem is really not, I don't have enough information. The problem is taking action.
Yes.
I think it's very difficult for people to take action. I think obviously you've taken action. You've started your own business. You're creating your personal brand. I think accountability is a big one, especially when you look at the whole HR space as well. And you touched on this slightly before as well, where I'm waiting for my manager, my leader, my company to make me happy or to give me that next step. Or it's not just limited to company, personal brand, starting a business. I think accountability is a big problem. Do you think that's the case, or taking action?
I do, and I think most of the time it's because we're scared to have a difficult conversation. So if we are at work and we've asked a manager this, or I'm not feeling fulfilled in this, sometimes we need to have those hard conversations around, this isn't fulfilling me in this way. Is there another department, maybe a lateral move within a business where I could feel more fulfilled that way? And if not, then it's okay to have an exit strategy. And I think that's one thing I tell my clients as well. it is okay to have an exit strategy. If an employee isn't happy at work and they're not fulfilled, support them through that exit as well. It's not a bad thing. Sometimes it doesn't work and that's okay, but it's better to be proactive with that than reactive. If that makes sense.
Oh, no, absolutely. One question, I don't think I was going to ask you this question, but now just again, off the cuff, quite sensitive, maybe from an employee perspective, but also a company perspective, Glassdoor reviews.
Oh gosh, okay.
So you see a lot of like nice, amazing, big companies, but they've got all these shitty reviews on Glassdoor. So just talk me through Glassdoor reviews and the intent or the intention of people who actually post these reviews. And so what would you say to them who are posting these reviews? And I'm specifically obviously talking about the negative reviews. And also to the company. What would you say to the company and the leadership team of the company?
So for the people who are posting the reviews, they absolutely have that right. They can do it. What I'm noticing a lot is, especially Gen Z, they will go on Glassdoor before they apply to a company. They will look them up to know exactly what they're signing up for. So if a person has exited the company and they feel it's appropriate to write, I think it's important to write that review in a moment when you've internalized what's happened, rather than quite a reactive review. For the employer, feedback is a gift, and you've got to find the gift in every piece of feedback. You might not always agree with it, but you have to find it. So if somebody has wrote a particularly negative review, find the gift in whatever they're saying and be proactive with a resolution towards that to prevent it from happening again, because more than likely you've lost a really good team member and you don't want that to happen.
I love that advice. I'm going to take that to heart, by the way. I actually do take the negative reviews to heart anyway. Maybe not in the nicest possible way sometimes, because you're a human being at the end of the day.
And we're all emotional.
Yes.
And that's where, like, I've had my time where I've had particularly bad feedback, and at first I felt really defensive and put my walls up. But I've had to find the gift, because I can then learn from the gift that was within that feedback as well, and it makes me grow and develop and be a better person.
Find the gift in feedback.
Always find the gift.
I love it. So what's next for Access HR First?
I would love to have a team. I think for me, it's continuing to give the best client experience that I can and growing employee experience. And to do that, more hands on deck would be really great. But for me, what's really important is having people by my side who are really strong with my values and culture, because not everybody is doing the same style of HR that I do. And I pride myself on that. I've built an amazing brand on being a progressive people partner. We really tap into modern pain points. And that's really important to me. And someone who wants to be on the journey as well. As you said, when you start out, it's challenging, can be hard, comes with a lot of its own individual challenges, but also someone who's really excited. I think that's where I want to go and continue inspiring the next generation. That's a really, really big thing for me. Won an award, Most Inspiring HR Leader, and the response that I've had from that is everything and more for me. So just continue to be thought leader, inspire the next generation, and then I'll be happy.
I'm not surprised you won that award, by the way.
Thank you.
Obviously now seeing you in flesh and blood, I mean, that just validates that even more so. But I mean, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I mean, because it's huge. It's huge. I mean, if you think about it, because it's not like you've been in the business for like last 20 years and we've spoken about your age, and for you to come in and get one of those awards and being acknowledged and recognized for something like that, that's big. I mean,
huge. It was,
and you're doing it by yourself.
I am. I'm doing it by myself. It was an honor, and to be recognized for the progressive HR that I'm doing alone as an HR leader, but also in the wellbeing space, because that's what the award was for. That's huge for me. And being in a room as a solo entrepreneur, 27 years old, only nominee who is an entrepreneur compared to corporate, to come out on top was incredible. I wish I could have bottled that moment because it'll stick with me forever. And that is everything to me in the way of being different in HR is working, and we just need to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. I strongly believe when you do something with the right intent, you do attract the right people and the right circumstances.
Yes.
You've obviously attracted the right circumstances. You will soon enough attract the right people as well.
I've just got such a good feeling. Like, I'm so excited for the future and what's to come. I just feel like this is the start, like opportunities like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible.
Absolutely.
12 months ago, I was in corporate. Now I'm sat here with you.
Wow.
Incredible.
Also really inspiring. Also validates, when I believe everything is built twice. First in your mind, then in reality. So it also validates that thought process where, oh my God, you put your mind to it, you worked hard, you were consistent, and bam, here you are. And we're talking about your entrepreneurship journey. That's just amazing. That's just magic.
I'm just proud of myself. I never really thought I'd say that, but it's amazing. And it's one of those, when I put my mind to it, I will get there. Might have a few hurdles along the way, but I'll figure it out. And I'm so committed to figuring it out. And that's why entrepreneurial life isn't for everyone, but it's absolutely for me.
Wow. I love that. What's next for Georgia then?
Georgia is hopefully going to keep growing day by day. I want to keep evolving, be even better, make more of an impact. For me, again, the millennial Gen Z vibe coming in. I honestly believe that if you do create a great workplace and invest in your people, businesses will thrive. I love that. I love where I can just sprinkle a little bit into other people's lives and be more impactful. I want to keep growing. Things like this, speaking, getting my voice out there, building a brand as well, and being the role model that I wish I'd have had, because I didn't have a role model. And that's what I would love to be for other people.
I love that. Yeah. That's amazing. Helping people along the journey. And really paying it forward, giving back. I think that's amazing. What would you tell the 10-year-old Georgia?
10-year-old Georgia, massive people pleaser. And the thing I would say to her is, don't let the voices around you stop you from doing what you genuinely want to do. Believing yourself, I think, is a really big thing that I definitely didn't do at 10 years old. I used to let the opinions and thoughts of others decide my future. And I wish I'd have believed in myself and just trusted my gut sooner. Yeah.
But everything happens for a reason, and it only happens at the right time.
It does. And I'm glad we can't see the future.
Yeah.
Because everything that I've done throughout my career is exactly why I am sat on this couch here today.
Amazing.
I wouldn't change a single thing.
Amazing. Georgia, I love your energy. I love your passion. It was amazing speaking to you. I mean, thank you so much.
This has been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Really, I mean, wow. I mean, I had a lot of expectation. Social media expectation versus reality. I obviously seen you in social media, build that one-sided relationship. And normally your reality is not as good as your expectation. For me, it was the complete opposite.
Oh, amazing.
Thank you so much.
No, of course. Honestly, thank you so much for having me. And this conversation has been incredible. Thank you for being an amazing host as well.
Thank you. And hopefully we get you on board on Plum as well.
Perfect.
You are doing a few things for us anyway, off the back of...
Really exciting future with Plum.
But it'll be nice to have a chat with you anyway around the whole HR strategy perspective. And I hope many other businesses do the same, because you're just amazing. And hopefully you continue to add value in people's lives, help them thrive, and then eventually businesses thrive also.
Today has just been incredible. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. So much to come for both of us.
Thank you.